those of us that are black that have faced racism, and has been attacked for reaching out to those of us that may have done things that others considered controversial. But he says in order to govern, we've got to bring people together. This is why we wanted him to start us tonight with a statement. He said, Reverend Al, if you're honoring people like Harry Belafonte, people that paved the way for my father and me, if you're standing with the tradition of Dr. King, we need to, at this time, unite, bring people together as Jewish cemeteries are being desecrated, as people are being victimized with racial attacks, as people that worship Islam are being demonized and stereotyped. He says, I want to be as Robert Kennedy was in his day of office and others have been in office, one that would raise my voice of tolerance. And as he has come tonight, I've asked him to address us first on that, in that, because he has personified that. I bring to you the governor of the state of New York, Andrew Cuomo. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It truly is my pleasure to be here this evening. First, to Reverend Sharpton. We first met, we were about the same age, we were in our 20s. Somewhere along the way, he became a lot younger than I am. I don't know exactly how that happened. But it has been such a pleasure to watch him grow and get stronger. And we're so blessed to have his voice on our national stage now when we need it more than ever. Let's give him a big round of applause, Reverend Sharpton. To Reverend Richardson, who was a great spiritual leader in this state for many, many communities. He is a very powerful reverend. Every election, I go to see him for a blessing before I run. One election, I forgot to see him, I lost. That'll never happen again. Let's give him a round of applause, Reverend Richardson. To Harry Belafonte, who was a dear, dear friend of my father, who was also governor of New York, named Mario Cuomo. And my father is no longer with us, but he would be so pleased and proud to see this recognition of Harry, who he had such love and respect for, because what Harry Belafonte said is, yes, he's an international star with phenomenal talent, but he used that talent and that stardom to help people who needed real help. And that's what makes him a beautiful human being. Harry, congratulations. Let me say this, you saw the video and you come together now probably at one of the most important times in history. And Nan has a mission that is probably more important today than ever before, because these are difficult, ugly days out there. You pick up the newspaper, you see what direction this country is headed, you see the anger, you see the conflict, and you know that we are in trouble. And we need organizations like NAN to step up and fight. And there are still two truths in the middle of all this. The first truth, Pope Paul VI said it first in 1972 in his New Year's Eve address, right in the middle of the Vietnam War. He said, if you want peace, you work for justice. We now say today at NAN, no justice, no peace. And the truth is, injustice is all around us. It hasn't gotten much better. The truth is racism is still alive, and sexism is still alive, and classism is still alive. And it's a sad truth and an ugly truth, but if you don't admit it, you're never going to solve it. It may not be as blatant and obvious, but it's just as insidious as it's been in the past. And the challenge is right here today. When Washington says they want to repeal the Affordable Care Act, what they mean is they want to take back health coverage from the poor in this country. That's what they're really saying. When Washington says they want to come up with a tax cut for corporations down to 15%, that'll cost this nation $3.4 trillion, what they're saying is they're going to cut housing assistance at HUD for the poor and food assistance and heating assistance for the poor. That's what they're really saying. We saw in this city, this state, an African-American man, Eric Garner, killed by police on a videotape for all to see. We have the highest income inequality in the nation, more rich, more billionaires than ever before, but we still have blacks and browns anchored at the bottom. We have failing public schools in this state that have been failing public schools for 10 years. Just think about it. Generation after generation sent to a school that you know is a failing school. We have Rikers Island, which is a snake pit, which is so bad that the federal government actually had to come in and appoint a monitor to monitor Rikers Island. They just came up with a plan to close Rikers Island. They said they'll close it in 10 years. 10 years. Now let me ask you this. Do you think if the parents of the children who were in the failing school were rich and powerful, or the parents of the children who were in Rikers Island were rich and powerful, do you think it would take 10 years to close down Rikers Island and 10 years to close down the failing schools? Well, we're fighting back in New York. We are the only state to use public funds to provide immigrants with a legal defense before they get deported. We just passed a piece of legislation called Raise the Age that said 16 and 17-year-olds are children and don't treat them as adults for purposes of criminal justice. First state in the nation to provide free college for any family up to $125,000 so everyone can live the American dream. After 10 years of trying, every interrogation will be videotaped, so when it comes to trial, we'll know exactly what happened between the police and the perpetrator. We're the only state in the nation that appointed the Attorney General as a special prosecutor for cases of police misconduct, so we know we're going to get a fair hearing. The highest level of MWBE in the United States at 30%. So we use our government programs to provide jobs all across the board. We've already signed a law that says 16 and 17-year-olds are going to be out of Rikers by next year, because I'm not waiting 10 years. And there's a gentleman here tonight who's going to be the next senator named Brian Benjamin. He said he's going to pass a law. He said he's going to pass a law in New York State that says Rikers has to be closed down in 3 years, and I'm telling him today he passes that law, and I will sign that law. And the second truth, my friend, is that we must stand and fight together. What you're really hearing is that they are going to try to divide and conquer. And what you're hearing from the forces in Washington is that they want to demonize people who are different. You know, different people, people with a different skin color, people with a different religion, people who come from a different place, people who speak a different language. The different people are the problem. But we know otherwise. We are New York. We know that we are all immigrants. We know that we are all different people. And we know that our strength is diversity and coming together and forging one from all. And we know that when you try to divide us, it's not going to work, because we're going to come together stronger than ever before. We're going to be black and white and brown together. We're going to be gay and straight together. We're going to be Christian and Muslim and Jews together. And in unity there is strength, and the unity will defeat the division the way love defeats hate every time. And New York is going to lead the way in that march, and we're going to do it arm in arm with NAN. God bless you for what you do. It's needed more than ever before. We will do it together. Thank you, and God bless you.